I'm kind of like I think people like Michael Jordan. I'm kind of a unique kind of character.
And I have
the analytics
I love
you just see how games and possessions how they mean more.
I'm not putting him on.
I think the U.S. is going to obviously win.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Nothing But Respect. My name is Patrick Redford. I'm joined as always by Harry Krinsky. And I am joined for the first time, but this podcast is joined for the third time by Rohan Nadkarni. The last two times we tried to have you on, something disastrous happened to me. And so how does it feel to join successfully, and what bad thing do you think will happen to me this week?
First of all, yeah, I was really worried somehow we'd enter some kind of substance curse situation. Like I could only come on the podcast if something really terrible had happened to you. I will say I do miss the days when this podcast was more of like an indie outfit, you know? You guys are really sold out. You got a corporate overlord now, you know, a company with an HR department, things of that nature. So I'm personally interested to see if you guys will still have the same level of takes, or if, since you have sold out, you know, this is just going to be yet another sanitized NBA podcast.
We claim to be the last uncompromised one. I do hope we can continue doing this. Obviously, Defector's list of like incredibly evil and clandestine sponsors are breathing down our necks. So,
I just want to shout out just at the top of the show. Just want to get this out of the way. Kalshi, for those who place bets on whether or not Rohan will say Pelle Larsson's name more than 5 times, we have talked about him. There's an insider trading situation going on, so like those bets have been voided, but all the other ones are valid still. So.
The only other thing I was thinking about the kind of like possible Rohan curse is maybe the bad thing that has happened is now you have to go see Sam Altman and Steve Kerr talk this evening.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like the curses that you are going to have to go contract. You know, I know it's smell crazy in their disease.
I know this reminds me of the Peter Thiel Antichrist lectures that were just held in San Francisco. Something I regret not going to, because I think it was the SF Standard maybe who just interviewed everyone in line where they're like, "What are you doing here? Like, what do you think about all this?" And so maybe this is like the penance I have to do for missing that. Doing a little San Francisco exploration on a Monday. So if speaking of HR departments, if Defector lets me expense a $41 ticket, then I'm gonna go.
Hell yeah.
But we're not exclusively here to talk about that. We are here to talk about basketball. Something that we've talked around and sort of towards in the past few episodes, but you know, teams have played approximately 8% of their season's games. And so we had to have NBC sports analyst extraordinaire Rohan to talk about it. But actually I'm going to contradict myself immediately and ask, how is it working for NBC? How has it been? Like, this is one of the big early stories of the season is the new national TV situation.
It's been pretty awesome. I do think that like several companies of NBC stature, which obviously exist in this country, I should say size more than stature. It's like, you know, it's obviously a very siloed situation. So I'd love to be like, I'm, you know, the face of NBC's NBA coverage. I'm so far downstream of it. Like I'm basically as responsible for NBC's NBA coverage as I am like production on the Odyssey. Like that's how far apart, you know, I feel about it. But it's very cool. It's been great to see how many people have like responded positively to the coverage. You know, so like my role is technically I'm a sports reporter at NBC News, which is, to the surprise of many people, separate from working for NBC Sports, which is, so it's like there's a lot of considerations at play, but it's been awesome. I think the coverage has been really, really good. I got to see Mike Tirico the other day, speaking of, you know, NBA and NBC, like for 5 minutes at the Today Show, told him how much I would enjoy the coverage. So that was really cool, but it's been awesome. And I think there's more to come. Like, I think there's a lot more to come.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think NBC coverage has been quite good, I do have to say. Not just gassing you up, although the fact that they recorded one single interview with Michael Jordan and are going to like drip that out over the season is so funny, especially that like since one of the first things he talked about was load management, and like there's a sort of meta layer there because he is load managing his own involvement.
I have no inside information on this. I have to imagine that there's more than one sit down and there's more coming, but they've certainly not told me Michael Jordan's plans.
I too agree. I've enjoyed the NBC coverage. It's been awesome. The 11 p.m. Eastern start to the Warriors Clippers game a few weeks ago that was, seemingly bumped for 30 minutes so Michael Jordan could talk about load management was like a serious radicalizing moment for me.
I'm very curious. Again, these are not decisions that they've run by me on literally any level. Like I said, like you're more likely to get Chris Nolan to be like, hey man, like, do you think we should spend another $1 million on CGI here? But something that's interesting to me, the bet that's being made on we can get a bigger audience by starting this game in like true prime time and on NBC over the air in the West Coast, which has just been not happened in a very long time, So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. I think it's an interesting bet. Again, I'm not just saying this as a corporate Comcast shill here. And I'm obviously I'm watching the games on the Xfinity Stream app, but I'm very curious how that will shake out moving forward, like having the games, because it's impossible to talk about the NBA seemingly without talking about ratings. That's such a annoying part of the discourse, but maybe they're onto something.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the 11 p.m. start being annoying because I've had so many people in my life being like the 8 p.m. Pacific time start is annoying.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I mean, yeah, my shit is, we're built different out here. NBA East Coast NBA fans of people. I'm like, the game ended at 2 a.m. Oof. That's not a time.
It sucked too. It was like not a good game.
Yeah. I'm watching like Zubac, fucking James Harden pick and rolls at 1:35 a.m. How about this? Speaking of a team that doesn't run any pick and rolls, the Miami Heat. Rohan, you're a Miami Heat fan. In having you come on, I kind of was like, oh, I know we're going to talk about Heat. I started doing a little deep dive and like really fell down the rabbit hole because there is some very interesting, just like genuinely interesting basketball innovations being done by Spoelstra, this and co, which we will get into. I'm ready to proclaim the NBR's first official new member to the NBA deep state list. This guy Noah LaRoche, he's freaking joining the list. But what's going on?
So it's not completely dissimilar to in 2022 when all of a sudden the Miami Dolphins were playing good offense, and I was like, I honestly never thought this would happen in my lifetime. Like, this is incredible. I just, no matter what, I just assumed that the Dolphins were always going to be the team that if only one day we could score a few touchdowns a game, that would be so sick. And then it happened for a couple years and fell off the rails spectacularly, but those 2 years were the best 2 years of my life. The Heat obviously provided me much more joy and literally had LeBron James and Dwayne Wade on the team at the same time. So I cannot complain about it. But it had gotten to a point the last 2 years where even when they were good, there was a certain level of not enjoying large stretches of watching them in the regular season. And I love regular season basketball. And a lot of people are like, only the playoffs. The playoffs is it's a different product. It's not even a better product. It's a different product with different goals and aims. And there's just a beauty in the weirdness of the regular season. And it had just gotten really boring to watch them go literally 8 minutes without scoring a basket over and over again. The number of times they blew double-digit leads in the fourth quarter last year because it was they had a 9-point quarter again. I think they had multiple single-digit quarters against the Magic last year. And last preseason, first of all, even when I was literally an NBA writer, I was not watching preseason basketball, okay? It's a fugazi. It's stupid. Every year it's stupid. And last year in the preseason, people were like, the Heat are playing really fast this year. It's going to be different. And then boom, game 1 hits. And it's same old shit. So when I saw the reporting, they're working on their offense. And in the preseason, they were playing fast. I was like, all right, I'll believe it when I see it. So it's exciting that they've innovated. It's exciting that they've been willing to change. Am I a believer in it? Not necessarily. Do I think there's maybe flaws with this system? Certainly. But it's been exciting to see them do something different and actually play with pace and like youth and lead with that, as opposed to the true slog it's been for the last 10 years probably. So that's been my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, I found the Miami Heat aesthetic experience so repulsive that I like thought Jimmy Butler was just like ass. like I thought he was just like actually bad and kind of overrated, just because like watching that team was just so clunky and annoying. And this year it's been really fun. And like you've said, it's all just like quick drives to the basket, no real pick and rolls. Like I know, Harry, you've done the deep dive and I do want to talk about it schematically, but a sort of counterpoint I was thinking about is like, how much of this, at least like the thoroughness of the sort of the system and their success, although they're now back down to 3-3, how much of that do you chalk up to not having Hero and Norm Powell around? Because those are guys who sort of don't like, Hero needs a lot of ball screens and Powell will do this like real hoops, kind of hard and light foul baiting stuff, which isn't really like coterminous with like sprinting all the time and getting across half court with 23 in the shot clock.
I do think Powell, he played a couple games before going out with a groin injury, and I think he's going to play against the Clippers on Monday. I think that Powell seemed to be a good fit. He seemed to be working well within it, and you know, they had some lineups with Powell that were very good, and I think he seems bought in. Hero is definitely going to be interesting, and that's a double-edged sword. I've never been his biggest fan, and I also think that playing him and Powell together, you're opening up like some serious defensive issues. Or if you play Davion Mitchell still at point guard and you put Hero in for someone like, say, Andrew Wiggins, now you're looking at like serious size issues in the backcourt. The Hero thing, though, on one hand, it's like I kind of think he would mess up how they're playing a little bit. He's obviously a very good shooter and he has scoring talent, but so much of that has been pick and roll dependent that I'm curious to see how he fits in trying to play one-on-one iso ball. On the other hand, like they're playing a game against the Lakers Sunday night, and it's getting close in the fourth quarter. I know Harry's about to drop this data, so I don't want to step all over it, but I'm kind of like, I wouldn't hate a pick and roll right now. You know, I would not hate, Bam Adebayo rolling towards the hoop and trying to like do something that has like historically been very effective for every single team in the NBA. So I do think like as much as Hero could mess it up, there are situations where going to a Hero and Bam pick and roll would actually be kind of useful.
It's so funny you say that Lakers game, because I was watching this too, and that it was so funny. And I am generally appreciative of this Miami Heat experiment. It's like, it's fun. It's so funny to see them run the most like effortful drive and kick offense and then have Luka just come down, run one pick and roll and get a tomahawk dunk. Like, it's like, God, maybe you should be friggin', rocking with a few pick and rolls.
I was watching the Spurs Heat game last week, which they lost, but Wemby had to play like 40 minutes, which is sort of a moral victory in its own right. But for a lot of the third and fourth quarter, Bam was just like going into Wemby, hitting him with like a chicken wing elbow, and then like nailing an 8-foot half hook on like what felt like 12 straight possessions. And I was watching the Spurs broadcast as Sean Elliott, who like for my money is the worst piece of shit broadcaster in the entire NBA. Just like horrible, such a homer, doesn't really know ball. And after Bam got away with it, he was getting so mad. And he was like, well, he's NBA royalty over there, so he gets to get away with whatever he wants. Like, it was so good.
That's really funny. All right. Well, let me give a little like table setting for what we are talking about here. Because I agree with you. I think I've said this on the show. It's a running joke for me in my mind when a team says we're going to play fast this year. It means that you're like, oh, you think you're going to be bad. Like that. You think you think you need to play fast to score, because obviously fast breaks are easier than half court offense. The Heat though we're gonna play fast. We're gonna revolutionize our offense. We're gonna change. Spo's gonna adapt, etc. And to their credit, have in this way, and it has revolved around this guy Noah LaRoche, who was brought in a kind of somewhat confusing way. I think it's worth talking about.
Shrouded in secrecy.
Yeah, shrouded in kind of like classic mafioso style heat. Maybe not the only La Cosa Nostra touching the Miami Heat. You know what I'm saying? But Noah LaRoche has been a longtime player development coach through whatever 15 years, to kind of one of these classic guys who seems to be really successful. Has worked with a lot of people in the WNBA, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, I believe, as well. A few others, and then also some players in the NBA. He got brought on to the Grizzlies organization last year to basically do the same thing, try to revolutionize their offense. And if you look at, there are some data signifiers that are highlighting this revolutionary, or like what this offense revolution looked like. It's basically no pick and rolls, all pace and space, passing and cutting. The Grizzlies were really, really low pick and rolls last year, but it seems like in this kind of classic Moneyball way, they didn't really go all the way. And a lot of that was built around this Ja Morant. Okay, everybody else seems to like it, but Ja Morant doesn't like it. One of the interesting things I feel, just to briefly meta conversation about this, is like everybody's like, oh, ball, heavy, high usage ball handlers, like they're going to hate this. See, Ja hated it. We're now kind of seeing that Ja might just hate everything. And so I am kind of feeling optimistic about Tyler Hero or any of the other kind of like heavy ball usage players being able to figure out this offense at least better than Ja did, because, he just doesn't seem like he wants to be particularly easy to coach at this moment.
That all makes sense to me. I feel like the person who it actually worked best for was Jaren Jackson. Like the type of driver and one-on-one player he is seems like more suited to just like having cuts around him and just having the ball and being able to like sort of transition into a post up and do that kind of thing. Whereas like someone as explosive and sort of vertical as Ja, and also who's not a shooter, I feel like he almost needs those like shifting defenses and sort of like, players in motion to like space to attack into, basically. So that makes sense to me. And I haven't really developed a theory about this, but I feel like Desmond Bane being so bad this year maybe plays into this somehow, but I haven't really wrapped my head all the way around that one.
I will say Desmond Bane is stuck in like the new prison basketball capital of America. Like that is true, like concrete hoops that they've been playing in Orlando. Granted, he was supposed to be the person who fixed that, but it is a huge change to go from like free and fun to like, you're in the yard. This hoop is a steel pole. Yeah, it's
One aside I wanted to get off about Orlando is, how and the Kings are actually a great example of this, which is teams that look like your friend's fantasy basketball team if he just hadn't watched the NBA in 5 years. Like that, they're sort of like, oh yeah, like Russell Westbrook, right? The Magic are beginning to resemble that, except if instead of having not watched the NBA in 5 years, they like read The Ringer 5 years ago and then never again until this year. And they're like, we need Jonathan Isaac. Like we need it's
Wendell
like
Carter Jr. actually is the modern big. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's like the blog boy intelligentsia from 5 years ago, like splattered onto a basketball team.
I was going to say, like, having watched a few of their games this year, it's gross. And it feels like the team someone would have created if they thought like Gershon Yabusele is like an all-star level player.
Yeah.
Like they're just so big and beat. Like, are you aware of the existence of Noah Penda? He's this like very cubic shaped French guy. Like they're inventing all kinds of different French guys these days. He like is just like literally every other player on the Magic. And then he's like oversized and muscular and like kind of can't shoot, but is like good at some other, like the same things that literally every single other player on that team
Okay.
is.
You mentioning that someone can't shoot brings me to a quick aside here that I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on. And I thought about this while watching the World Series, when it's like the Dodgers were playing that guy, Miguel Rojas, who ended up hitting a huge home run in Game 7. And they started him in Game 6, and they're like, yeah, he can't hit at all, but like he's a great glue guy. You know what I mean? It's like he sucks at like the most important part about baseball. And like obviously he ended up getting a big hit. He a former Marlin. Like this is not about him specifically, but isn't it crazy how many people who play the highest level of professional sports are still bad at it? Like
it is kind of amazing.
Like
yeah.
we cannot find like 30 people who can play quarterback. And obviously that's why these people get paid so much money, but it's like we cannot find 150 people in all of the world who can play offensive guard great. Like at any given moment there's like 60 good guards in the NFL. And somehow we like throughout the entire world we can't find another 90 who are good. And in basketball it's like we can find 225 people on the face of the earth. And Lord knows the NBA is trying. They're in China. They're in Africa. They're in India. Like, we can find 220 people who can shoot a basketball, but we can't find 300. Like, we can't find 400. No matter, like, and they are scouring the earth, and we can't find 300 people who can shoot, like, NBA average from three. It's just kind of crazy.
Isn't that basically just a function of, like, the sort of rock, paper, scissors thing of like, we can't find 300 people who are also big and athletic enough to like do this against NBA defenses and like play NBA defense and also hit a three? Like,
yeah,
it's not,
that's a good point. That's a good point. There's people who can shoot it, but can they survive on an NBA court? It's a different question.
Like, have you ever hooped with Tommy Craggs? That guy is like a dead eye knockdown shooter, but like obviously not an NBA athlete.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But
although a team should give Tommy, I think a 10-day would actually be
Tommy
a really good idea.
That sounds like one of those mafia guys. Tommy 10-day.
Well, 10-day Tommy. Yeah.
Duncan, when I used to work on the long shot, and Duncan Robinson, I have this disease where I don't remember if somebody was saying something to me specifically or on a podcast they recorded, which is, my own cross to bear here. But he was saying that the jump between D3 and D1 isn't really all that high from a skill standpoint, but it is just the athleticism is like 10x. And so that fits. The other thing that makes me think of Ron is like Henry Abbott on our show when we were talking about injuries, like he framed the NBA as he was more like the entire process of becoming an NBA star is like a meat grinder, and the NBA players are the like flowers that were able to grow in the proverbial concrete. It's like they're just like complete statistical freaks. And from that point, I'm like, okay, I guess if you're like complete statistical freaks that can survive playing 82 games without like exploding all of their limbs, I guess of that group of people, only 200 of them can shoot.
For sure. But it really just even drives home how much of a statistical freak even the like there are at any given moment 150 players in the NBA, like the bottom 5 of every roster, that you're like, dear God, I hope we don't have to play this guy tonight. You know what I mean? Which is remarkable.
This gets us back to Noah LaRoche, because the premise of, so let me think about the right way to talk about this, because what's interesting about Noah's scheme is it is extremely revolutionary and completely not revolutionary at all. In that, like, high schools across the country are playing this style of offense. It is, people, it is taking all different kinds of names, like pace and space, read and react, a drive and cut offense, whatever, 5-out offense, like all these kind of things. But what it is essentially, one way to think about how it's different is instead of, trying to get an advantage via a pick and roll, which kind of creates a mini advantage innately, it is trying to create advantages by extending space rather than kind of collapsing it and complicating it. And so their whole thing is like, keep the Heat players as far away from each other as possible. If you think of defense like a shell, expand the shell as much as possible and attack the space inside the shell. And all that's well and good. What it means is that they run a really, really disproportionately low amount of pick and rolls, which is kind of broadly thought of as the simplest way to get basket in basketball of all kinds, really. I got some stats that do kind of hammer this home. The Heat run.
Before you get to the stats, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's sort of a larger, like, theoretical architectural question about this offense. Like, I know this comes from the lower levels, like up to the NBA, but I wonder if you think that, like, this is a response to how defenses have evolved to defend the, like, post Steph Curry, everyone spread out shooting threes, a lot of offense. Like, is it a sort of like next, is it like that was a antibody created for this virus, and this is like a genetically mutated virus that can then attack that antibody that's like designed to defend what it thought was going to happen here?
I think there's an element of that, speaking personally, but it feels very specific to this Heat team, is what I would say. It feels like a reaction to, we have like kind of good pick and roll players, but not great ones. Like a weird thing about this Heat team, like especially when they had Jimmy Butler, for example, and they were, making it deep into the playoffs, was they were basically the only team at that point that was that successful that neither of their two best players could shoot. Like you look at every other team, and the one mild kind of outlier is the Bucks, but they still had Chris Middleton, who's like a classic 3-level perimeter scorer, which neither Jimmy nor Bam are or were. And I think for the Heat, it was like, we're not really creating the advantages via pick and roll that other teams are creating. In fact, like the good teams are switching on us, and like instead our offense is grinding to a halt. So it feels very much like an evolution of like, we're not able to use this to our advantage. How do we get an advantage? How do we get teams to stop like switching and mucking up our offense? Like this kind of prevents teams from getting them in the mud in a way that like it wouldn't happen to Luke,
It's funny you mention switching, because famously a team that does that all the time, that built their whole championship team around it, is the Celtics. And I wonder if this is in large part a response to being sick of getting the shit beaten out of them by Boston specifically.
Well, obviously I would push back on that this decade, I would say the results have been pretty split. I think you could argue that he'd have the signature win of the rivalry when they knocked him out as the 8th seed. But in all seriousness, I do think, I think it's a mixture of, Spo probably saw that the Pacers played with so fast last year, and that kind of continued throughout the playoffs. They obviously are a pick and roll heavy team, but what they showed is you don't have to slow down in the playoffs. And I think there is a huge element of, for years, they would run into Boston and be like, what are we going to do if Boston switches everything? And I think there's absolutely, like, that has been part of the growth equation here.
One to this kind of antibody, like larger chess move going on over decades. One of the things that I thought that, cause I listened to a bunch of podcasts about LaRoche, and he's a very smart guy. And one of the things that I think is interesting about the way he talks is he explain. Oh, good.
Is just anyone else a little worried how deep Harry went down the Noah LaRoche rabbit hole? And he's like, the interesting thing about Noah is, like
my dear friend Noah.
He's like, he was totally in the right about what happened in that situation in his college breakup. Like,
right.
How deep is this about to go?
I was listening to a podcast called The Basketball Podcast today, where Noah LaRoche was a guest, outlining his situation. I will say, just broadly, like the angle that I do find the most interesting about basketball coverage in general, that wets my whistle, are these like deep state kind of like shadow figures. I did want to go in and talk about like something interesting about, again, my close personal friend Noah LaRoche, is that he is, despite being a very, very influential, clearly like NBA mind, he is taking the exact opposite approach of a guy like Chris Brickley. It's almost like what, they're both, they literally are both like trainers to the stars. One guy is a guy that you have to go on the Basketball Podcast, advertising a private Discord for other basketball coaches on the podcast that I did not join, despite being curious about it. And then the other one, Chris Brickley, is like on Lil Baby's Instagram page. So it's like it's just a clash of styles.
Which team do you think should hire Chris Brickley? He sounds, I mean, if the Kings were any more glamorous, that's the kind of stupid shit they'd be doing, I have to say.
Yeah, if they had a little bit more money, the Kings could hire Chris Brickley. Chris Brickley has two, I told Patrick this, so don't answer Patrick, Rohan. Chris Brickley has 2 songs on Spotify, credited songs on Spotify. One of them is with rapper Lil Durk, and the other one is with Jadakiss. How many streams do you think each of those songs have on Spotify?
Do you want to each in total for each individual one or combined total?
You can give me one of each. One has a lot more than the other. The one with Lil Durk has a lot more than the other.
I'm gonna go with 100,000 for the Lil Durk one and 50,000 for the other one.
Okay, the song with Lil Durk called I believe it's called IKEA Wall or IKEA Blanket. IKEA Bag has 13 million streams on Spotify. The song with Jadakiss,
IKEA Blanket is much closer to 100,000.
Blanket is really funny. It's got 13 million streams on Spotify. The Jadakiss song has 2 million streams on Spotify. Who these people are?
I guess 13 million. I know Chris Brickley a little bit. I think he did our SI show, and I interviewed him a couple of times. But this was before he became like, the popularity has grown like 10x since this somehow. But like, you know, maybe I played a small role in it. Maybe I should be getting royalties. Who knows?
I want everybody to eat. But okay, let me just get back to Noah LaRoche.
I was about to make a lethal shooter point. We can't keep going.
Lethal shooter, yeah. Shout out lethal shooter.
He's, one of the things that Noah LaRoche is discussing when he's talking about the how he believes people should coach is he was like, the 2 most, statistically speaking, the 2 most efficient shots in basketball are 1, a layup. So that's what everybody would say, and then if it was like 7 years ago, what everybody would say is a corner 3. But what he said, which I thought was interesting, was he was like a catch and shoot 3. And that is especially interesting, and as it relates to this antibody thing, because it seems like the offenses realized that the corner 3 was a shot that other people were leaving open, but was actually an extremely useful shot. We have now completely caught up to that paradigm. People are taking away them. They're scheming to take away them. So this is that next move where it's like, okay, we need to expand our aperture for what we're going to consider an efficient shot, because if we try to force corner 3s, we're easy to solve. But if we instead try to build our offense around the efficiency being just a type of shot, location somewhat, like irrespective of location, then that opens up the types of ways you can run a efficient offense. And so in that way, I do think it is this like next step after, like Morey ball.
That's really interesting. And I feel like I remember when I was thinking about like how to explain basketball to people who don't really watch it last year, the insight I had was that like offense is about space and defense is about time in a certain sense. This almost not like inverts it, but sort of changes that, where it's like, actually what really matters is like the coordination between the 2 players, not like where they are coordinated, because then a defense really can load up in the corner, but you can't necessarily load up on like Simone Fontecchio sprinting 15 feet in a certain direction or whatever, right?
Well, one of the things that he says, I'm not just joking about the podcast, like countless times on various interviews, is he keeps using the phrase basketball is an invasion sport, which I think is
interesting.
It's an interesting turn of phrase, and how he sees it. And I actually really do think you see this in the Heat offense, is that the premise of the offense is to take space at all possible times. Like Davion Mitchell grabs the ball and just rips and like drives 9 feet. He's not always getting to the bucket. He's not always whatever, but he is like, give me the ball. I am like attacking the rim. They put a ton of pressure on the rim. It's usually kind of like they're like fuck ass 4th guy putting pressure on the rim, but like they are putting pressure on the rim. And it is this egalitarian approach versus this like top down star heavy approach, which again, to Rohan's point, like I think you need to be the Heat this year to run this offense, because you aren't going to win being top heavy because your best guy is Jaime Jaquez, Tyler Hero,
probably Norm. Yeah.
Sacramento Kings legend Davion Mitchell.
Davion Mitchell, yeah.
He's been incredible ever since he got to the Heat, by the way, to the point where I'm like, what was going on everywhere else he played?
Well, the
Kings obviously trade away all their good players, unfortunately, but
we do need to talk about that. Something that's interesting with this is that like this invasion philosophy, which does make a lot of sense to me. Basically, what the premise of a lot of this is that like every inch of the basketball court is valuable, right? Like what you said, but that extends to like bringing the ball up the court is like something you can gamify and extract, 6-8 seconds of the shot clock worth of advantage, or that like there's a value in just like taking these drives that aren't necessarily going to score, but will then like force the defense to react. And actually, I really like the way he sees the game. That's interesting.
No, he's spitting, I gotta say.
Saying that the most efficient shots become a catch and shoot three is really interesting. That I'm sure people around the league believe, but I've not heard a lot of people verbalize that. I'm about to check out the freaking LaRoche pod now. It seems like I'm very intrigued.
It's very interesting to he speaks in this way. Again, he speaks in this way that's very simple. Like complicated things, very simple. He kind of speaks like a LinkedIn post, which take it or leave it. I think that's probably useful for communicating basketball ideas. But if he was like communicating, like how to grow his small business or something, I would be concerned. But anyway,
well, you don't think getting the Miami Heat successful is more or less evil than like doing a Y Combinator style B2B SaaS?
I think it's exactly the same. Yeah. Well, the other important thing is that he was introduced to Eric Spoelstra by Duncan Robinson. So New England supremacy is back.
Oh, another Harry Krinsky connection.
Yeah. And Harry. Yeah. I gotta text this guy. Anyway, I sort of hijacked this by getting right into Heat stuff, but you Patrick, you had this idea, which I think is great, which was to just talk like we're like you said, 8% into the season, some early observations. So, what were some of the ones you had so far, Patrick?
Well, this is like a fun time in the season where you'll have people making these very like straight-faced cases for like why a guy is doing well, and then they will name the stats that are all just hilariously dependent on like the fact that the teams have played 5 games or whatever, where it's like, yeah, Cedric Coward has a true shooting percentage of 95% or whatever. And you're like, okay, well, clearly that like invalidates whatever point you're trying to make. But I like this part of the season a lot because there's just like everyone. You slam into the regular season with all these ideas in your head where you just think like, no way, Orlando is either going to be 3rd or 4th, and I have such a hard time deciding. And then you watch them actually play 2 games and you're like, wow, I like didn't realize that like spacing matters. Or you watch, the Warriors play and you're like, I really discounted the power of Bay Area style quasi-legal medical interventions on getting all these unks knees healthy. So there's a lot of very strong impressions being made. And the first one I'm going to talk about actually does really vibe with like the Heat conversation a little bit, because I know this is not a popular position, but I'm a Thunder guy. I like the Thunder. I think Chet is cool. I think he should wear more do-rags and say crazier stuff. I'm into all that stuff. Well, Rohan, you made a face there. What was that about?
I'm in on the Thunder. I draw the line at Chet is cool, but
reasonable people can disagree.
Yeah.
Something the Thunder like did better than any other team was like drive the basketball and prevent drives. Like it's just crazy swarming pressure to prevent you from taking that kind of space. And then it's not just Shea, but it's like Jalen Williams and Aaron Wiggins to a lesser extent. All those guys, like the thing they were really good at was like just relentless pressure on the basket. And they used ball screens. The double big lineup enables that to a crazy degree. But seeing as how the Thunder are the last undefeated team left after San Antonio and Chicago lost, it's crazy. It's those 2 teams. There are like surprisingly hurt and fucked up. Like Jalen Williams hasn't played yet. Chet has been out for a while. Caruso missed time. Like Isaiah Joe, who's like kind of an important regular season player for them, has missed time. And like Shea's been amazing, but it doesn't totally, and they've played a fairly easy schedule still, but like it doesn't totally make sense that they have been so dominant. Like despite they're like not running, there's like all these weird statistical indicators that like don't really add up. And then you watch Belgian guard AJ Mitchell get out there and hoop, and you just think like Sam Presti has made some sort of unholy pact because like, goddamn, that guy like might be the best player in the 24 draft class. He's so good.
He's like, is he going to be an all-star? Like, what's going on? Like, it's
could
really
be.
ridiculous. It's really ridiculous.
I mean, he's been straight up the Thunder's like second best player this season.
100%.
I love that we have two Belgian guys in the league right now. I don't know how familiar you are with Belgians, but like as a cycling person, they're a big, huge part of that sport. And just like respect to all our Belgian listeners, they're up to some goofy stuff.
Yeah, what are they?
I like
on?
that he's left-handed. I like that he went to UC Santa Barbara. There's just like a lot to like about this guy, and his game is like very smooth. He's so like, he knows what he's doing at all times. He's so good at getting into the paint, and he's kind of one of these like guards where if you were evaluating him with like a talent evaluator's lens from like 10 years ago, you would see like he's not big enough to post up guys and get into the paint, but he's also not fast enough to blow by them all. But he like is so good at getting like 1 inch of advantage, putting a guy on his hip and just like kind of bullying his way straight to the rim. And he like looks like a star for them. It's like, I kind of can't really wrap my head around them getting away with this again, but they seem to have done it.
Well, it's like we tease / shit on Shea for being like uber steady, you know, and kind of like unemotional, almost sort of robotic in his work. But that is a blueprint for like long-term dynastic success, because it definitely starts at the top. It's like, you know, I'm not necessarily comparing these two people, but Tim Duncan, same thing. It's like that was the whole critique on him. He's a boring basketball player. I don't agree with that, but like that's what people would say. I think there's a little bit of that here where there's just no nonsense. Like they take care of business. The other thing I would say is like, I remember in my high school days of playing, you would get these teams that were like, they just had a reputation for imposing a frenetic vibe onto the game. And it was something that was scary for me. Like, cause it's like, oh, I'm going to have to like combat this frenetic vibe. I sense that the Thunder do that. They create a, you know, these are pros, so it's not maybe as much of a heart rate spike as perhaps what was going on at the Urban School of San Francisco when when I was getting trapped, but they do like elevate heart rates. They make decision making a little bit more, you know, frenetic. Like I do think there's just a well-oiledness to them.
I think that's a really astute point about Shea, because it's like, it's funny that you mentioned no nonsense, because they so clearly give off the vibe of a team that could be too goofy, but it is in fact the exact opposite. And I do think he is very much a, like, not to use just a total cliche here, but a real culture setter for everyone else. It's like, you can't really get away with it if he's gone from where he was to winning MVP. It's like hard to be the guy on the team that's fucking around.
Something that's like very interesting with the Thunder too is like how different their team building model is allowed to be, because they've been so great at drafting all these players and making like the Shea trade and stuff, and how many draft picks they have, where you, under most sort of conventional NBA talent evaluation schemes, you look at the Thunder and think, okay, they can consolidate, you know, they can consolidate Aaron Wiggins, AJ Mitchell, Jalen Williams, and like one of their 90,000 firsts for like, and like they should go get Giannis or something. But like, that's not the way they think about it. And also you look at their bench and you're like, Nikola Topic hasn't played yet and he could be good. Like they should maybe trade some of these guys, clear out this amazing depth and like consolidate. But like, they are so good at not only drafting, but player development. It's like almost more valuable for them to like keep AJ Mitchell, and if Brooks Barnhizer, whoever the hell is like actually good,
Northwestern legend,
keep them away from the rest of the league, so that like there's almost like an arbitrage opportunity in like keeping Ousmane Dieng as your 15th man. Does that make sense?
It's infinite timelines instead of the two timeline Warriors thing. It's like, what if we had an infinite time loop?
Yeah, and like they're playing these lineups with, like I said, Barnheiser, who I actually think sucks. No disrespect, Rohan. And really a guy named Chris comedy. Youngblood, and they're still just kicking the shit out of everyone. Like that's how good Mitchell is. Do you guys have anything that you thought has been, I don't know, caught your eye in this first week or so?
Can I go with like a slightly negative one?
Of course.
It's not negative as much as it's like, it's a real chin scratcher to me. And that is like, I was like, okay, the Nuggets got Cam Johnson. This is going to be a home run. Like, you could not have a better plug and play fit over MPJ. I think like what he lacks in terms of like the couple percentage points worse of a shooter he is compared to MPJ, he makes up for, and he can pass. He won't piss Jokic off every 8 minutes. Like, there's just so much more he can do on a basketball court. I know I named very few things, but like he's a better cutter. I just think he's a smarter player, and like there's more variety to his game. And that lineup's not been very good. Like I pulled it up. Like, first of all, they played 86 minutes, most in the league. The Nuggets lean on their starters like no one else does. Minus 1.8 net rating, like really good on defense, like 109.9 defensive rating. It's pretty good for their starting lineup historically, but 108 offensive rating, that's like shocking to me. And like watching their games, like, yeah, he kind of just disappears for large stretches. Like I remember watching that Warriors game, that was incredible. And it's like, felt like he went like hours between hitting shots. So that's when I've been like, I just had such high, to your point, Patrick, you brought it up. Like you go into the regular season and you're like, I know these 8 things to be definitely true. And then this one, I was just like, I would not have guessed of all like the offseason acquisitions, this would be the one that kind of got off to the slowest start.
Yeah, something I was wondering, you're totally right. And I was right there with you thinking like, this is such a crazy upgrade, not only for like things that they will say on podcasts, but like basketball court style stuff too. And like, I almost wonder if playing with Jokic is so like the opportunities that it affords you are so many that it's like kind of hard to know exactly like which ones of them to take, because the issue is with Cam is that he's just kind of standing there. And you'd think someone like that, you know, especially if you have Gordon and Jamal and Jokic on the team, that your job is either to just like catch the ball and shoot it, catch and shoot style, or like just make opportunistic cuts and sort of just fill in the gaps. And I almost wonder if he was like on the ball so much for Brooklyn last year that like that secondary stuff is like just takes a minute to kind of get into, or if like because Jokic just stands there so much, like you don't have that like generative flow that most teams play with.
That is, the learning curve is interesting, and it's one of those things where it's like you assume it's easy because of how much of a floor raiser Jokic is, but maybe it is as simple as it's like, oh, this is an entirely new, you know, he's never played with a kind of offensive engine like he is.
I know what's going on, so I can tell you guys.
He's like, you guys didn't listen to the Noah LaRoche podcast?
Noah was talking about this
exact topic.
No, it is podcast related though. Do you guys remember how the Laker bump kind of got Talen Horton-Tucker a sort of $20 million contract or whatever.
Fenerbahce star Talen Horton-Tucker.
Exactly, right. And you know, we've seen Kyle Kuzma is eating off being a handsome young Lakers wing for his whole life, which is great. That is now also happening for people who make frequent guest appearances on various JJ Redick podcasts. And the Cam Johnson discussing jump shooting on the JJ Redick podcast has created the illusion that Cam Johnson is like this basketball genius when what he is a good 3-and-D wing. And he is fetched a first round draft pick in trades because of the entire NBA just watches JJ Redick podcast. But few understand that bump is you know a little bit smoke and mirrors.
Wow, this makes total sense to me because honestly, I didn't watch that many Brooklyn Nets games last year, nor did he play in that many, but I did watch that podcast clip.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
It's like, and let me say this. He's extremely articulate about jump shooting. I love that for him.
Different than the practice of jump shooting, that was your point.
Slightly different than the practice of jump shooting. No, I mean, I'm teasing. I think it is probably what you just said. Is like there's a mental side to like trying to fit in with players who are so idiosyncratic. Because Gordon's also idiosyncratic too. He's like this.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Scores a lot, but in this like dunker spot.
And they have a weird team. Like Gordon's like a positionless player in like the current game, and Christian Brown is kind of a weird player. Like it's a very goofy team, and also it's like there's just no way he's going to shoot 32% from three all season.
Right.
Yeah, definitely not. But interestingly, Gordon is like almost the model. I mean, Gordon is like the perfect Jokic teammate, and that trade like was just such a smart bet on Gordon, like getting the ball out of his hands that like would make him more effective.
Yeah.
And like Cam is sort of a similar player in some ways, like a guy who was miscast as a number one I mean, not really on purpose. That was more like a tanking maneuver, but like who spent time as a number one option when he probably shouldn't have been doing it. And so I definitely think there's plenty of reason to be optimistic. Don't look up who they're playing tonight on Monday because he's about to score 55 points against DeMar DeRozan. So all of this will be moot.
It would be funny to think about like what is the like first team all platonic ideal of a Jokic rehabilitation project, like Bruce Brown.
Honestly, Westbrook would have been up there.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of happened. It kind of happened with Westbrook.
Yeah.
MPJ was like a pre-habilitation. It was like he didn't realize like
rehabilitation.
It was like the Spider-Man 2 scene where it's like he's in front of the subway train, like, and he's got the webs on all the buildings. Like that was Jokic with MPJ. Like, you don't understand like what I'm doing. Like they're like, he's just a kid. It's like he's just a Serbian man. Like,
wait, I have an MPJ stat. Michael Porter Jr. is averaging 3.2 assists per game this season, which leads the Brooklyn Nets.
No way.
Incredible.
Did I see you tweet about this, Patrick? It was like, don't look up who's leading the Nets in assists.
I believe fellow Miami Heat fan Luis Paez Pumar put it in Defector Slack.
That's so funny because I looked that up the other day because someone tweeted that and I was like, holy shit.
I think I would have guessed Cam Thomas just because if it's being framed as like this is a funny outcome. But I think Thomas is second just because it's like those are the only two guys who have the basketball.
Yeah, I was gonna say what would second was 1.9 assists again. Can we talk a little bit about what the hell is going on in New Orleans?
It's a bad situation. Did you see the DeJounte Instagram stuff today?
Maybe I saw. Is this off the court stuff? I saw there was some. He might be having some personal drama. Yeah,
he's doing some nasty misogynistic Instagram stuff. But I do just want to raise this because two Shamsi nominees can be found as giddy flag to me. He accuses the mother of his child of, quote, being in clubs unannounced, which I think is extremely funny phrasing. That's like how Shams would put it. And another one he used was, quote, she never communicated to being in clubs. And that has nothing to do with, the Derek Queen trade or anything like that. Like, this is just a disaster at every level.
Never communicated to being in clubs. It's very, very good.
It's so good.
I thought the New Orleans Pelicans were going to be good this year. Let me just first say that. I do not think that's true anymore.
Wait, can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Yeah, I like tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, what's funny is some of what
he's like. Well, if you listen to Noah's appearance,
Noah LaRoche has been really high on these Pelicans teams. In short, I guess it was a few things. One, I bought the Zion this is basically a make or break year for him, and he's coming in incredible shape. Like everything will look different when you have Point Zion, which has been funny because he has been out there and doing stuff. And like, I don't think the problem lies at his feet. Totally. And then, I just sort of like, I liked Poole I think Poole has this sort of like reputation of being shitty because he gets like aura reeled, and like got traded away from Golden State or whatever, in a trade that is looking, worse and worse by the day, because we also gave up Bucks starting point guard Ryan Rollins in that trade. But so they had him, they had a Herb Jones, they just like they had a
Trey Murphy. They have guys.
Podcast guest Trey Murphy.
Guest Trey Murphy. Maybe I fell victim to the JJ bump. And so yeah, I mean that's basically it. I thought they were going to get. I thought Zion made them a transformative offense, and then everything else was going to fall into place. They basically, and then I also thought Derek Queen was going to be good. I think Derek Queen could be good. I will say right now, he is not good. He looks, and I understand, he's a big man, have a really hard learning curve getting into the NBA, especially big men who were like already a step slow defensively in college. He has no idea where he's supposed to be when he is on the court. Which is really funny because there's only like 7 possible spots on the court he could be. and he just kind of like always seems to be in the wrong one. He does, though, just like he has this sort of like feel for, the feel for like an offensive game and touch around the rim that is, that not many people his size have. So I think there's a chance for him. I also love that he plays in a t-shirt jersey. But I wouldn't be surprised if by the time this episode gets posted, they have fired their coach. I wouldn't be surprised if they fired their GM. Like it is. I sent you guys a tweet of the 30 teams on in the NBA. They all have like various hashtags. Like marketing hashtags. The Pelicans hashtag is just #Pelicans. It's like and this is framed in the idea of like Pelicans fans being like, it seems like the organization is like quitting on itself right now. I don't know. What do you make of? Let's talk basketball first, and then maybe the organization. What do you make of what you guys have seen from the Pelicans so far?
I know I did see someone say that Joe Dumars going from the league to the Pelicans is a major league situation. It's been brutal. I mean, it's like they're playing DeAndre Jordan like at center, which was pretty disappointing to see happening this early in the season. Mm-hmm. I do think Fears looks interesting as a player. I don't hate that. Like I was just looking up some of their lineup stats. Like they have one really good lineup, which is like not nothing, with Zion on the floor, with Fears on the floor. I think it's like Williamson, Jones, Murphy, Missy, and Fears has been good for them, which is like somewhat promising for their future. It's just impossible to talk about them without, not only have they been so bad, the draft pick thing looming over them is so depressing. Zion, I was the same thing. I had some mild hope for them because I thought Zion would be like 30 points a game, like, this is my last chance to get another huge contract in the NBA. I will do whatever it takes. And like he's been playing is basically all you can say, but it's like he's not bad, but it's like, oh, he's just another guy who scores 20 points.
Right.
Do you remember when he could dunk? That was cool.
Yeah.
The thing, I mean, I don't like to be this person, but I will never again pin the Fell For It Again award to my chest when it comes to Zion. The more I watch sports and have now seen like 1.5 generations of athletes go through their entire career, I think when you start out, it's very easy to think of like health as mostly like a luck thing. Like sometimes Joel Embiid just gets hit in the face, or like Steph Curry's ankles were crab meat just because guys would step under him. But like, maybe we've talked about this. I don't think so. The more and more I watch, the more I think that like knowing how to move normal and be able to like keep your body in perfect balance and good position while in like compromised places like LeBron, like health, that is like why health is a skill to a certain extent. And I watch someone like Zion or Ja just like extremely explosive, but like doesn't necessarily do all the little things of like switching his hips and stuff. He's just like not that kind of athlete. I just think like this guy is Mr. Glass and will never, just basically never, ever, ever have an uncompromised body ever again. Not to mention like all the explosiveness he's already lost from his various injuries. And like, I can never remember what body parts Zion has hurt. Like a week ago, I saw a headline that says Zion says foot injury, quote, nothing major. And then I just Googled him just now and it says Zion Williamson, hamstring, questionable for Tuesday. So like, it's always something with this guy.
He also unfortunately fails the like, you just watch him walk and you're like, oh, that's not how you're supposed to walk. It just doesn't seem calibrated. I have to say, I love watching him play. He's so weird in his style. Like he seems to have like the best second jump of anybody ever. And like, that's how he scores 80% of his points is he misses his first shot and then just is already jumped up higher to get his second one. There's a real like power to him in like he just launches himself at play people. But yeah, I mean the Pelicans don't run any offense. It's kind of astounding. Yeah. And then as far as the like team giving up on the city thing, I mean, I don't know. It's always been a bit of a second fiddle. I just think these are there are always winners and losers in the NBA season, and there's always people who are back, and there are always people who it's over for, and it appears as if it's over for the New Orleans Pelicans.
And it's just always over for them. I think it's going to be this is a data project that I don't want to do or really think anyone should do, but I would bet that it is going to be cheaper to fly to New Orleans, stay in a hotel for one night and buy like very close tickets than it will be to see like the Knicks and MSG or the Warriors at Chase, for example.
No, I like that. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I wonder if you can get like, could you go to a Saints game and a Pelicans game for under $100?
It's probable. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Hey,
Rohan, do you have anything else that you like or don't like?
Like or don't like. I mean, I wouldn't say like or don't like. I'm curious if Josh Giddey can actually shoot now, because to your point, you mentioned this earlier about like everything is based off like a 5 or 6 game sample size. Like I had to argue with like a Heat fan where like Bam sucks. They're like, did you watch preseason? Like he's shooting under 40% on twos right now, and I'm like, if this is happening over 15 games, like I will have this conversation with you. Like if he's shooting, like he could be shooting 8% in a 3-game sample size. Like I could not care. So like Josh Giddey being a somewhat decent shooter is interesting to me for no other reason than it's like, this guy sucked at this. This is basically why they traded him. I don't know that it changes my outlook on the Bulls in any way whatsoever. Like I live in Chicago. I've not had like, for even a second, a desire to go to a Bulls game to see the Chicago Bulls. Like every now and then I'll be like, when's this team coming into town? And it's like, oh, if I'm there, I'll go see it. So them becoming like mildly watchable and interesting, like Kobe White, I think has he even played yet? I don't think so. So
I don't think so.
That was like, I'm like, okay, how about the Bulls? Like I think they'll slow down. They have like a bunch of games against real teams coming up. Like no offense, they beat Sacramento was one of their wins. They played the Magic, who I think were like early season struggle. They beat the Knicks, which was not nothing, and they dropped like 135 in that game. So that's something that like, as I've been like, why are the Bulls doing so good? Seeing the fact that he can actually shoot now, that's always one that I like. Every year I feel like there's one guy where I'm like, can this player shoot? If so, they're a completely different player than they were a year ago.
I don't know if he's like the reason why, but I love watching Matas play. That guy is awesome. Like I remember when he was like talked about as a number 1 pick for a while, and he like really fell on draft day.
It is weird when that happens, right? Like some of these guys have like huge falls like that.
Yeah. And like the stuff that he was good at was like number one option stuff. Like he's a huge guy who can handle it crazy style and like shoot in theory. And in practice, like has not really shot it, but like the handle this year is nasty. Like he's like trying to like cross people up, and he's got this very physical drive game where like he just get his shoulder into you and get some space, and like he loves to dunk on guys. Like it kind of reminds me of like Markkanen's game in that one specific way. So I really like watching him. I also like the team's sort of like total indifference towards protecting the rim. Like it's either Vucevic or Jalen Smith, and their job is like to spread the floor on offense and just like grab whatever rebounds like fall towards them. Like the Kings game was so funny because like anyone who wanted could get to the rim. The problem is just no one wants to. They want to play the like version of the Heat offense where no one interacts with each other, but instead of running or driving, it's just DeMar standing there and shooting. And like, it's kind of, I don't know how sustainable it is, but like there's so much good offensive talent that like you'd have to think they're going to fare better than like, I don't know, some of these other, like the Raptors, for example, you know?
Dude, Giddey is like turned into like Steve Nash, like
awesome.
in 6 games, which is nuts. But Modest Museos, that was a good call out. He's been, it'd be fun if they were decent. I just, you know, they had that year, granted it was a way different team, but when like Lonzo was healthy, those first like 40 games, and they were a ton of fun, and like DeRozan was hitting a game winner every night, where I don't think anyone took them seriously, but it was fun that they were fun. Yeah. It'd be fun if they were fun.
Totally.
Yeah. Matas was a great example of, and we've kind of been talking a lot about how the ones that go awry, but Matas was a great example where everybody, every sort of like through every media channel, people were like, Matas Buzelis is going to make the leap. And then he did. It's sort of like, it's kind of like, oh, okay, nice. Okay. Sometimes we are right. Sometimes the mainstream media gets it right. One before we get you out of here, can we get a quick vibe check on Mr. Key Bump himself, Ketamine Kuminga? The game is slowing down for him. What do we think?
Good Lord.
I do really like this nickname, but more than that, I like your campaign to get it going. I ran this by a couple Warriors fans in my life, and they were like, I don't really like that. I see what he's doing, but I don't like this. But I stand with you, Harry. Fine. But I do think you're right. I do think like the game is slow. Like he's trying on defense for like the first time ever.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I'll just say I feel like I have a little bit of an investment in the Warriors in a way that I haven't in years past. Like obviously, it's like I'll watch Steph as much as possible. But like ever since they got Jimmy Butler, I'm like, this is really fun, and it would be sick to see them in the finals again. Like I just want to watch Jimmy Butler in those games. I want to watch Steph Curry in those games. I want to watch Draymond in those games. It does feel like Kuminga, for the first time, is like playing how they have wanted him to play, which is not try to be a 25 point per game scorer. And it feels like him not playing that way has made him a better player. And it's kind of strange that it happened now after everything that happened this summer that he decided. But I think he's always been the kind of guy that has like enough talent and enough athleticism to be a super overqualified, like fill in the gaps player. And it's like, he's not as good as Aaron Gordon, but that's like the kind of style of play I think he should be doing. And it feels like he's inching closer to that than what he was in years past.
I thought Ben Mathurin in the playoffs run last year is like, that's what Kuminga should be doing. Just like dominate physically, especially against second unit guys, and like run instead of standing there.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And like this whole standout has been standoff between them has been interesting because I'm like, as Kuminga looking out for Jonathan Kuminga, I totally understand his frustration. And like, I understand like it seems like almost that if he was drafted to maybe, let's say, half the teams in the league that weren't the Warriors, like he would have gotten a max or near max contract. And so I get it. Like that's really frustrating. I do also think Well, it's funny. I wouldn't have said that it's over, we're back. Is like, if you had asked me like a month ago, I would have been like, Kuminga, he can't figure it out. He's not a team player, et cetera. He doesn't care about winning, blah, blah, blah. Now that I see him, this shift that I believe is 80%, my read on it is 80% his processing speed. It's like not an effort thing. It's like he is just like can finally process the game at the speed that you are required to be a kind of like elite NBA basketball player. I'm like, maybe he was just like trying his hardest the whole time. He just wasn't thinking that well, because he really was like, he's always been an okay on-ball defender and just a horrible off-ball defender. And a lot of that is mental. Like you're in the wrong position. You're a step out of place, whatever. And, or it's really not a step. It's like a quarter step out of place. And the Warriors play so fast that it was glaring, like, whatever. So I will see, he's also shooting. He's like hitting a bunch of threes, which I've never bought the jumper because it just looks kind of like bad. He looks like a rapper shooting at Chris Brickley's runs. It just in jump shot style. I mean, like it's got like 7 different hitches in it, but we'll see. I really do think that the processing is slowed down, and like that's real. Whether or not he will take the Warriors to championship team, it's
I think
yeah.
I don't know. Their best 5 is as good as any best 5. I think it just was really going to come down to like, what are these 35-year-old guys looking like in the spring? But
what do you
really like the team.
What do you make? Because I'm with you, but how do we lose to the Pacers without Halliburton and the Bucks without Giannis? Like, what is going on?
Ryan Rollins, for one.
No, he did just go off. I mean, yeah, maybe it is just that. You're right. Maybe I'm overreacting. All right.
I mean, speaking of the Warriors, I have bought a ticket to the Sam Altman thing, and they said I can expense it, so that is happening. So excited to bring some more Warriors insights next week.
Great, yeah. Maybe ask. Maybe they're using sort of like agentic technology to.
Maybe they'll leak the JJ files, the Redick files. This is what he was. These were his prompts.
Oh, that would be. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
If there's a Q&A, I'll try to raise my hand quickly to ask that.
Sir, can you show me the 35 plays that JJ Redick drew up for Dalton Connect in the draft war room? All right.
Well, I was going to talk about the Kings, but I don't want to. So thank you so much for joining us, Rohan. Hopefully nothing disastrous happens to any of us this week. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Anything I want to plug? No, I don't think so. Paulina's Meat Market in Chicago.
Ooh,
on Lincoln and Paulina. That's who I'll plug. Great sandwiches.
Shout out.
What's your
what are you rocking with?
The spicy, really good. It's like a variety of spicy Italian meats. Mm-hmm. I have been going there to these like very intimidating Midwestern butchers and asking them to scoop the bread out for me, which has not been fun, which has been like a little bit scary every time, but I've made it. And it's not even like people are like, you trying to eat low carb? And I'm like, it's a better bite. It's a better bite, honestly. It's a more easy, like more, satisfying bite.
Yeah, I feel like they would be more sympathetic, or like straight up sympathetic to that argument, because you're saying, you're a butcher. Like, I want to taste your wares.
Exactly. I
don't want this intervening layer of sourdough.
There is also
I was just say their roast beef, just straight up roast beef, also kicked ass.
Maybe you are fooling them into, like, I don't know exactly where you fall in this category, but you do get this certain type of, like, usually they're like chefs who, it's almost like the imbecile, regular people genius meme, where like you'll get chefs that are like, the best bite of food ever is like a piece of Spam that you like light on fire with a cigarette.
Right, of course,
So like you being like, scoop the bread out, it's actually better, might read as like mega gourmand.
I like this. I think that's a really good take.
All right.
If you're in Chicago, check him out. Check Rohan out. Thank you, man.
Thank you guys. Knock on wood. Hey, we made it
Nothing
through
happened.
today, and so, everything's looking up.